Hey guys, Paul Yaffe here, and today we're going to talk about Razorback tanks and the problems that get caused with these things on occasion because they're not properly set up before they're put into service. And you know, we've been making these tanks for a decade at least, if not more. They're a very high quality tank. They're pressure tested twice during the manufacturing process, and we also use something called zinc-impregnated steel when we manufacture these tanks. And what that does is it prevents the inside from corroding. I shouldn't say it prevents it, it resists it. But I'm going to show you how to prevent that. I'm going to show you some easy, simple steps that take care of that. So this is a tank that we painted 3 years ago. It's been in service in California. Customer called me a couple weeks ago and he showed me a picture, and there was a little bubble about the size of my thumbnail right here on the tank. I said, take it off, clean the gas out of it, send it back to me, we'll take care of it. This tank, so what happens sometimes is, even through pressure testing, and we get no air coming out, we get no bubbles when we liquid test it, we put it under water, we get nothing out of it, there still can be on occasion a microscopic porosity. That it's so small that water won't pass through it, even air won't pass through it. But, you know, after a service, this thing's full of gas, it's sitting out in the hot sun, it gets pressurized to, you know, a lot of PSI, probably 50 PSI when it's expanding in the sun, gas expands, and the pressure will push vapor through this microscopic pore, and it'll create a bubble, but there's no liquid. Like, I just cut this open, there's no liquid in here, it's perfectly dry, there's no sign in here. If you look closely, there's no sign that it's ever had gas in it. There's no corrosion. There's no tarry buildup. There's nothing that would show that there's ever been fuel in here. But fuel vapor over time will ask the paint to separate. Right? It's corrosive. It'll ask the paint to separate, and it'll create that little bubble. So if you look inside this tank, right, 3 years of service in Northern California, there's no rust in that tank. If you look around in there, it looks like it's brand new. And that's the zinc doing its job. That's the zinc preventing corrosion and keeping all the surfaces looking great. So this tank is doing its job. It's in great shape. It looks beautiful inside. It's just had this porosity pop up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this tank up, and I'm going to pressure test it at 5 PSI. I'm going to spray some Windex on this spot and see if I can get it to bubble. I'm going to see if I can find a leak or a hole here, and I'll guarantee you I won't. We've done this a few times. So what I'll do is what should have been done in the first place, and this is called Caswell's. Caswell's is a resin sealer. It's completely gas proof, not gas resistant, gas proof. Gas cannot penetrate this epoxy. So what we do is we will tape this whole tank off, and we're going to do a little video of that too. I'm going to fill it with a 50-50 solution of muriatic acid and water. I'm going to let it sit probably for, 15 hours or something. I'm just going to let it sit outside, let that acid etch and do its job. Then I'm going to pour the acid out into my drain. I'm going to put some white vinegar in here and slosh it around. I'm going to neutralize that acid, and then I'm going to rinse it with soapy water and clean it up. And it'll look, it still looks brand new inside, but it'll look completely etched inside. Then all I do is mix this epoxy parts with the catalyst and the epoxy, pour it in the tank while the bottom's still sealed, and I move it around. You're just going to roll the tank, roll it around, right? And you're going to get the inside completely coated with this epoxy. It dries in a few hours. It makes a beautiful, hard gloss finish inside that is absolutely impenetrable. Anything that might have a microscopic pore or something like that, eliminated. There's no way this thing will have a lifetime of trouble-free service. And this Caswell stuff, we've only discovered this in the past couple years. So when this tank was put into service, we weren't doing the Caswell epoxy, but we've learned, one, we found this great product, and then we've tried it a bunch. We've used it a bunch, and it's just been great, trouble-free. It just takes a little patience to install. It doesn't need any special equipment. You don't need any stuff. You probably want to wear a mask when you're working with the muriatic acid because it's a little caustic. And be careful, just take your time. You can do it on a painted tank. Obviously, it's better if you do it before you paint your tank, you put the sealer in, but after the fact, if you have a problem, you can totally do it. And this tank will get slightly repaired, no big deal, and we'll epoxy it, and it'll go back to matte, and it'll have a lifetime of trouble-free service. Now, I want to show you something else. This is another Razorback tank. This Razorback tank was prepped and sealed and done very poorly. There's two things you can't do when you buy a Razorback tank or when you're installing one of our Razorback tanks. One, and there's a big sticker that comes on this tank that you cannot remove that sticker because it comes apart in little teeny paper pieces. You have to sand it off. And it says, do not sand on this tank. Do not sand the welds on this tank. You could sand on the top of it, but the tanks come in really nice shape. All they need is a light skim coat, a prep, and a good high build, high yield primer, and they're ready for paint. They don't need to. So, but our tanks are welded. These are three-piece tanks. The whole bottom tunnel and the two sides are all welded together. So this seam right here is welded. This seam is welded. This seam is welded. And then it's pressure checked. So it's all pressure tested and certified fine. But if you go in and start sanding on these welds, you're going to find a porosity. You could sand this until you separate the tank again. So what happens a lot, and they ignore the sanding, or they'll decide to put a bunch of Bondo on here for some reason, I don't know why, and they'll start sanding and they won't realize they're sanding through the metal. But what happens is it happens every time someone will, this tank was 2 years in service, and then a customer came out one day and the tank had a leak right here, right? It took that long for the gas to eat through the paint, but when they sanded this, you could see how it's flat and you could see the crease where they separated the tank halves. You could see plain as day that it's been sanded. And when it finally opened up, it poured down the side of the bike and caused some paint damage. So again, then the customer called and said, I've got a leaky tank. We're always receptive to that. We're not closed-minded to it. And some people need help. So I'm like, put the tank in a box, send it back to me. I'll take a look at it. He sent it to me. I could plainly see where the part had been sanded. And I called him and said, hey, the tank's was sanded on, and you opened up a porosity. My painter says he didn't sand on it. And I'm like, well, maybe he didn't see his guy sanding on it. Maybe he didn't see the guy that was doing the body work. I don't know, but I can tell you this tank has been sanded on. Then I look inside the tank, and somebody has tried to do an epoxy sealer in here, right? But so you can see where it's shiny, and but you can see all the rust in there. This tank's been poorly prepped, right? And I'll show you what happens. This is what I pulled out of that tank. This is the liner, the epoxy. Look what that, how is it possibly going to adhere to that? Right? That's what they trapped inside of that tank. And then you can see that, I don't even know if I've got my light in the right place, but there are drywall screws in both sides of this tank stuck into the epoxy. So I'm going to guess that somebody took a box of screws and dumped them in this tank and then started sloshing them around, thinking that the screws would act as an abrasive and that they would clean the tank. Well, one, it didn't do that. Two, they got some metal screws stuck in the wings of their tank, which is kind of funny to see when you're looking in there and you could plainly, just plain as day, you could see the screws in there. So this is just, it's just, there's nothing wrong with this gas tank. It's a nice product. But when you're gonna use it and you're gonna put a custom tank on a custom motorcycle project, take a few minutes and do the right thing. Order some Caswell's epoxy from Caswell's, or we have it on our website. It's like $50. It's no big deal. Put the acid in, etch it, put the vinegar in, neutralize the acid, rinse it out, let it dry real good, and then pour some epoxy in it and slosh it around and just take some time to get it coated really well, and you will never, ever have any of these problems. I'll guarantee you, if this guy, even though he sanded through his tank here, if he had done Caswell's epoxy and done it right, he would have never had a problem with this tank. But you can see from what I showed you with the liner peeling out that it just wasn't done right. You can't pour stuff on that type of a surface and expect it to adhere. It just doesn't adhere. So it's a very easy process. Tomorrow Jaden's he's gonna seal a tank, and we'll film it and show you a little the process of doing it. It's really not that big of a deal. The hands-on time is a couple hours at most. Most of it's just like sitting and watching paint dry. You fill it with acid and you let it sit for a while, and then you dump it out. It takes a little while to clean it, and then you're going to put the epoxy in and watch it, and let it dry. So the actual time you're touching the tank is very little labor, and the results are a lifetime of trouble-free operation. So folks, when you're choosing a Razorback tank, even though it's zinc impregnated and it's pressure tested, take the time to prep your tank. and seal it. Seal it with the epoxy so it basically has a hard baggie inside the tank, and you'll never find a micropore. Even if somebody's compromised a weld or whatever in the body process, it's all fixed inside. It can't get out. It can't get to that, right? So it's so worth the energy, and that's all I have to say. So when you're choosing a Razorback tank, we recommend Caswell's tank sealer. It's a great product. It's easy to install. It works great. And thanks for choosing our products. And we just want you to have a great experience. So, seal your tank, enjoy your tank. It's as far as we're concerned, it's the best tank on the market. Solid steel, beautifully put together, great lines, fits the bike perfectly. You really can't get a better gas tank. It's just doing, the due diligence, right? It's like putting air in your tires. There's some things you got to do. You mount a tire, you got to put air in it. Build a motor, you got to put oil in it. Use one of our tanks, you got to put sealer in it. Thanks for watching. Paul Yaffe, out.